What's good, family? Shout out to the Donny Chucks, Chucky A, for coming through with the membership coins. Respect. So we got some more breaking news right now regarding Josh Taylor. Now, he's broken his silence and we've got his opinion and his comments after having watched the fight. These are very important comments right here. Now, obviously, immediately after the fight, when he hadn't watched it, I completely discount anything anyone says after a fight. The most important comments are the ones when they've actually sat down and watched it themselves. That's what counts. Even though really, I've seldomly, if ever, I can't even think of an example of boxers had their wig pushed back and admitted it too, even after the fight, or, you know what I'm saying, even immediately after or even after watching it. Yeah, so bear that in mind. Anyway, here is the JT's comments. Triple T spot. Josh Taylor box 1. I have taken a few days for some well-earned time with my family after not seeing them for a few months. I've had a chance to watch the fight back. First and foremost, I want to congratulate Jack Catterall on a great fight. He rose to the occasion and fought a valiant fight. However, I believe I won a very close fight. Many fans believe Jack Catterall deserved the decision, and that's fine. We both went in there and fought our guts out for 12 rounds. But the personal attacks on myself and especially my family are disgusting and uncalled for. My days at 140 are numbered. My future is at welterweight. Jack Catterall deserves another title shot, and as soon as possible. I've never ducked a challenge in my career, and I'll be happy to fight Jack Catterall again, but it would have to be at welterweight. Jack is a great sportsman and a hell of a fighter, and deserves every bit of admiration he's receiving right now. I want to thank my family, my team, the fans who packed the OVO Hydro, and everyone who watched me get my wig pushed back on Sky Sports, ESPN Plus, and around the world. Fighting as the undisputed champion on Scottish soil was a dream come true, but I'm only getting started. I'll be back, and better than ever, this time ready to conquer the welterweight division. Now, so like I said before I read this quote out, I wasn't expecting much, yeah? Although we do find out someone's integrity, or we could possibly find out someone's integrity by how they react to a fight which most people think they lost. But me personally, I think it could have been a draw. I wouldn't have been mad at a draw. I'm not, to be quite frank, I'm not even mad that he won. Yeah, I think there's an argument he won. Teddy Atlas says the same. Carl Froch says the same. However, there's many other people. The majority, I think, are saying Jack Catterall won. I don't follow that logic. However, one thing I have always stood by is the fact that I didn't want to hear no excuses about not having a rematch. This fight was certainly one of them ones. Even after the fight, when I said that I think Josh Taylor did win, I said there must be a rematch, bottom line. I don't want to hear no excuses about not having a rematch. Because you think about it, if you think you won, do it again. Oops. Yeah, one of them ones, you understand? It can't work both ways. Oh, I won the fight, but I'm running up to welterweight. No, that's a duck, I'm afraid to say, boss man. Yeah? 100%. You can't sit there and say, oh, I won the fight and this, that, and the other. Well, if you won the fight, go win it again. Especially when people have talked about Josh Taylor being tight at the weight and being sick and whatnot. Well, if he was sick and Josh Taylor himself, I wasn't able to train and I wasn't able to do my weight properly because of the illness I had and A, B, C, D. Well, all them factors, I don't believe you're going to grow that much in the next 3 months, which completely writes off welterweight. Do you understand? Think about it. If you were able to make 140 with all them problems, and Josh Taylor self-admittedly didn't take Jack Catterall seriously, well, I'm thinking to myself, well, what's stopping you now then? 3 months. For the next 3 months, prepare properly this time, in your words. Yeah? Obviously, Jack Catterall fans will say, oh, his line, he was fully prepared this time. Either way, my point is, let's assume what Josh Taylor was saying after the fight about how his training and his weight didn't go right. Well, fine. If your weight didn't go right, you get it right this time. And I've seen Kell Brook. What you need to do, perhaps, is contact Kell Brook's nutritionist. Yeah? Because if you're struggling at 140, you need to bring Kell Brook's man in. Because Kell Brook was bone dry. So is Josh Taylor, to be fair. But either way, your whole career you've been at 140. 3 months ain't going to hurt. Especially when you're undisputed champion and you've got the kind of controversy. You'll never live this down. And also, it's important to note, actually, something that Shane McGuigan said. Shane McGuigan was the man who made Josh Taylor who he was. Not now. This rubbish Josh Taylor is a product of Ben Davison. But the real Josh Taylor, the real undisputed Josh Taylor, was under Shane McGuigan. And Shane McGuigan exposed the fact that Josh Taylor cannot go to 147 because he loses all of his attributes. To some extent, Josh Taylor was known as a bit of a weight bully. Yeah, he was the big 140 guy. That's what gave him his edge. And I agree, actually. Because think about it, especially after that fight. Yeah? Especially after that fight with Josh Taylor and Ben Davison. What do you think Josh Taylor going to do at 147? About, we're going to have loads of success at 147. Listen, let me tell you this for free, Josh Taylor. With Ben Davison, even with Shane McGuigan, you're going to struggle. Yeah? Even at your peak, you were going to struggle at 147, given that you were struggling with Prograis and whatever else at 140. But this new one, or this bad version of you, who's getting whooped by some random 140 pounder in Jack Catterall, what do you think you're going to do at 147? I'm telling you now, you're getting knocked out. Josh Taylor will get knocked out cold at 147. Hence, there's nothing sweet for you up there. And that's what I'm starting to think, that Josh Taylor, I think he must know that. And I think he's thinking, wait there a minute, what's the point me having my wig pushed back at 140 against Jack Catterall in a rematch? That'll completely write me off for any big fights at 147. I think potentially Josh Taylor's realised he's come to the end of the road and he's trying to cash out. Yeah? Because otherwise it don't make sense. If you thought that you could beat Jack Catterall, you'd just go and beat him, wouldn't you? Well, I don't care what no one says. The weight isn't the issue here. And someone who knows Josh Taylor intimately in Shane McGuigan, he knows how tight the weight was. And the fact that Shane McGuigan ain't saying, yeah, it's a done deal, he must have to go up, that shows me. And in fact, Shane McGuigan said that, or implied that Josh Taylor should stay at 140 full stop. Like for his whole career. Bottom line. Or until some massive opportunity opens up at 147, i.e. some sort of vacant belt. That's what Shane McGuigan, someone who spent 5 years with a man, said. So on that basis, why all of a sudden are you desperate to run up to welterweight where you're likely to get your wig pushed back? Like I said, in my opinion, it's because Josh Taylor's doing the maths. Wait a minute, if I stay at 140, and yeah, the Catterall fight will be bigger than it was, but that's not gonna make your life, is it? You're not gonna get paid 10 mil for that or 5 mil for that fight. Whereas Josh Taylor can go up to 147 undefeated and potentially go straight into a Terence Crawford fight where you know you're gonna get paid 3-4 mil. Yeah, or you know what I mean, one of them ones. Because especially you got to bear in mind that Josh Taylor's WBO champion, and WBO guys, they get guaranteed the mandatory for the weight above, which would put Taylor and I believe it's Terence Crawford as mandatories. There's a multi-million-dollar fight, 2, 3, 4 times bigger than the Jack Catterall fight. However, though, there is an argument actually. How big really is this fight now, given the controversy in the UK? Who knows? This will probably sell the O2 now. It really has drummed up a lot of interest, especially if they sell it right. Yeah, if Jack Catterall comes out and says, "Listen, I whooped your ass. Yeah, I'm Pappy. You call me listen, Josh Taylor. You call me Pappy from now." And if Josh Taylor comes out all guns blazing, I can see this actually being a pretty big fight in the UK, based on the history of it and what happened in the first fight. To some extent, this could, if both men sell it right, this could be kind of like a George Groves and Carl Froch rematch. Do you understand? So who knows? I'm not necessarily saying that his only option is 147, but that's what he's implying. He's implying that he ain't really want to smoke with Jack Catterall, and that's a shame in my opinion, because I gave Josh Taylor credit. I thought there's no way he gonna have that kind of controversy and run off. However, he's sounding like that's what he's going to do. And I'm sorry, the whole narrative of, oh, I'll fight him at welterweight. No. At welterweight, it doesn't mean nothing. Who gives a F about that fight at welterweight? You're both nobodies there. It makes no sense. Right now, you have the undisputed belts. Why would you drop them to fight Catterall in a nobody fight? Who want to watch that? No one does. What part of what makes it so interesting is the fact that it's an undisputed fight. It makes no sense. You've spent all the years collecting the belts, and now you're going to run off and just drop them all. Now, I'm sorry, that can't work. I'm telling you now. If this does happen, you're a duck. Yeah? I supported you with a win. I think you, there's an argument you won this fight against Catterall. But in honesty, and people don't understand why how can you say he won the fight? Listen, I told you, people who know me know, I don't score fights on a round by round basis. That's how I do things. And I've always done it that way. Yeah? It's not by the book, but I do things how I do them. And I do them based on the overall feel. And I put in other factors, like people's spirit and whatnot. That's just personally how I do things. However, on the basis that if Josh Taylor doesn't accept this rematch, based on how I score fights, which is a more holistic view, I'm telling you now, if Josh Taylor don't accept this rematch at 140, then you man are right. Jack Catterall did win. Do you understand? I'm adjusting my opinion based on how he's reacted to it. Because I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. If Josh Taylor really believed he won, then he should be straight into the rematch. If he's not doing that, that tells me he knows he lost and therefore he can't have won. Oops. Yeah, one of them ones. Simple as that. So if JT don't take this rematch, he got his ass whooped. 100%. Because the only reason I'm backing him is on the basis that he's going to run it back. If you ain't running it back, you're lost. There's no doubt. So he needs to take a serious look at himself before the YB ordains that he lost the fight. Simple as that. Yeah, because it's a shame that, I mean, the maths don't add up here. It don't make no sense to run up to 147 unless you're running. Because let's get something straight, yeah? It's not as if, before the Catterall fight, Josh Taylor wasn't saying, "Yep, this is the last one," was he? Yeah? Oops. He weren't saying that. It's one thing, yeah, if before the fight he was saying, "Yeah, well, there's no doubt about this is the last one." He weren't saying that. He was saying, "Yeah, I'm looking at Jack Catterall, and we're going to take it step by step, and we're going to look at the options." So, wait a minute, before the fight, before your wig came flying off, you was looking at options. Now your wig came off, you going straight up. And nah, that can't work for me, I'm afraid. That's a bad look, and you're making me look bad now, because I thought you was on this thing. I thought you would, as a man, and seeing how you fought in that fight, seeing how your wig got pushed back, but you kept coming back for more, I'm surprised that you're actually considering running off and trying to change the terms. Because think about it, at 147, Jack Catterall wasn't struggling at the weight. Why should you, bearing in mind the controversy's on you, the controversy is that Josh Taylor lost. So why would you now get the benefit? If anyone's going to get the benefit in the next fight, it should be Catterall. For example, if this fight should be in England next time, because, you know what I'm saying? All the controversy is about you. So the fact that you can't make the weight, or allegedly, the fact that you want it to be at 147, why should you get the advantages of a fight that you're involved in the controversy? So like I said, this fight really should be in England, and there's no doubt it needs to be at 140. And that tells me that, or it at least implies the fact that, or Josh Taylor trying to move it up to 147, he wants some sort of advantage. Why do you need an advantage versus Jack Catterall? I'll tell you why, because you think he got your number. And the way, I'm not being funny, but the way and I've said people, "Oh, YB, how can you say Josh Taylor won the fight?" Listen, if you listen to my actual opinion, I said that Jack Catterall could have won the fight. This was Jack Catterall's fight to lose. All he had to do was do a bit more of what he was doing. For me, it wasn't enough. He was way too complacent. Not good enough. Way too complacent. He needed to do more of what he was doing, and he probably would have stopped Taylor, to be quite frank. Nothing more irritates me when I see someone with potential and they don't use it. That's just that's the way I score things. If you have potential and don't use it, I go against you. Simple as that. Same the way when Josh Taylor fought Ramirez, I said that he deserved to lose that fight because he was sacking off the last few rounds. I can't stand people just going in there and doing enough to nick a fight. Don't like it. Same way I didn't like the Fury versus Klitschko fight. Can't stand nicking fights. Go in there and you know what I mean? Put the hammer down. 100%. Anyway, so like I was saying, the little nuances I'm seeing in Josh Taylor's reaction now, i.e. wanting it at a higher weight, i.e. even during the fight, Josh Taylor was looking very frustrated. So combine these elements, combine the fact that he frustrated, combine the fact that he now wanted to do it at 147. These are all signs that potentially that he's not sure. He may actually start thinking, wait, has this guy got my number? Maybe I need it at 147 so I can big man him. Because the way it was looking, it was like you had no answer. That's the fact. The only answer Josh Taylor had was to apply pressure. And that's one thing I like. I have a hard on for pressure. So what can I say? If someone can keep coming forward all night, I like it. The same way I think that De La Hoya beat Floyd Mayweather. Oops. Yeah? I don't like people just sitting back and not doing much. I like you to go in and have a fight. That's why I like what Kambosos did against Teofimo Lopez. Kambosos, despite being a smaller man, big manned him. Yeah, got stuck in. That's what this game's about. This game ain't called chess. And I have to bear in mind it's a combat sport. I have to give a big weighting to people trying to make a fight in a fight. Do you understand? Mate, I'm starting to think now more and more they need to make two sports. There needs to be a sport where you get stuck in and a sport where you're fanning around. That's the truth. That way it'd be very simple. Yeah, I think boxing needs to splinter off. One version where you put Floyd Mayweather and the old Tyson Fury into one, you know what I mean? And the other one where people get stuck in. And then trust me, all you fans who love this fanny around business, see which one you're watching. Oops, 100%. Because, yeah, you can put Jack Catterall and Floyd Mayweather in one sport, and then man can just play tic-tac-toe, and then we'll put the real ones in the other one, and we'll see which one you man watching. Yeah, I love to see Jack Catterall fanny around for 12 rounds. I don't want to watch that. Yeah, I want to watch someone. YB, Josh Taylor was getting his head plastered off, but guess what? He came forward the whole night. Yeah, he tried to make the fight a little bit interesting. Jack Catterall stunk the place out, what gets me is the fact that he could have. Their stoppage should have been on the wall. I'm sorry, it should have. The fact that his trainer didn't tell him, listen, Jack, you got this guy down pat, box his head off some more. But he didn't do that. He sat back and thought, oh, well, I'm just going to nick the belts. Nah, I'm sorry. And I hope he learnt a lesson that, wait a minute, if I've got more to give, let me leave it all out there. Can any of you man say, and that's the thing, YB, your opinion's wrong. Not one of you cats have answered my question. Can any of you man say Jack Catterall left it all out there? And if not, why not? Why are you going into an undisputed fight and not leaving everything you got out there? Dana White said, and most people accept that the UFC isn't as dodgy as boxing in terms of scoring, but Dana White even says, don't leave it in the hands of the judges. Why is that a thing for? If you can just sit back in an undisputed fight in Scotland and just nick it on points. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not ideal, but especially when, it's one thing, if Josh Taylor had been, I've seen many times before, for example, look at Usyk versus AJ. Usyk versus AJ is a perfect example of someone outboxing and the other guy sitting back and accepting it. That's why AJ lost, clearly. The difference is, if AJ had stormed forward and put volume in, there's no way, even if he was getting tacked clean, he was getting tacked clean anyway. You know what I'm saying? But if AJ had applied pressure and stormed forward, there's no way he'd have lost that fight against Usyk. Do you understand? And that's what happened with Josh Taylor. The difference between Josh Taylor and Catterall and AJ and Usyk was the fact that AJ was happy to get his head boxed off. And I guarantee you, and I admit, if Josh Taylor had sat back like AJ did and just tried to play touch butt, he'd have lost. But the fact he was able to keep storming forward and try and push it, that does it for me, I'm afraid. And Jack Catterall didn't quite do enough. Anyway, listen, you heard that from Josh Taylor. Disappointing. I'm hopefully when people see this backlash to these comments of moving up weight and this, that, the other, hopefully he just realises, it's only 3 months, Josh Taylor. Get into your best shape. I don't believe that you can't suddenly, you made it 2 weeks ago, so what's changed? Nothing. You can make it. You can make the weight. Get in and do what Kell Brook did. Kell Brook knew he's fighting Amir Khan. It's the fight of his life. And by the way, Josh Taylor, this is the fight of your life to date. There's no doubt about that. This is the fight of your life. And if I was you, I'd contact Shane McGuigan. Because Ben Davidson's a bum. Number one bum. Yeah? Useless bum. And that's what this is proven. Because I believe in your prime under Shane McGuigan, that fight would have been easy work. I've never seen you look so bad. Ever. And it's shocking. Yeah? That's what you need to do. But either way, whether you decide to go back with Shane or not, or yeah, whether you go back to Shane with your hat in your hand or not, what we know is your next move must be this rematch if you want to save any integrity. Otherwise, you'll be known as a big flapper. It's the man who flapped after getting his wig pushed back. Yeah, it's up to you. It's what you want to do. Because the 147 thing don't work for no one. Ain't no one trying to watch that with no belts and changing the terms. Oh, I've got my wig pushed back, so let's try and change some terms to benefit me. No. Yeah. Fair enough. If before this fight, if before the first fight, you said, listen, Jack, can't do it 140. But the fact when Josh Taylor thought it was easy, yeah? When Josh Taylor thought the fight was easy, he was straight in there with the belts. Talking about potentially having more fights at 140. Oops. Now, he got his wig pushed back. All of a sudden, you know what, I'm 147 now. That can't work. You must be at 140. Must. And you must run it back at 140. So like I said, what you need, if you're struggling at the weight, tell people, listen, I'm struggling at the weight, but the YB right, it must be done at 140. Let me do what Kell Brook did. Let me spend 6 months doing it right. Kell Brook went away for 7 months. If that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. I don't want to hear no more about 147. Yeah? Because you're ducking. Simple as that. And your wig got pushed back. So it's up to you. If Josh Taylor wants to retain the fact that he won the first fight, that's the thing as well. It's a bit like Carl Froch. It really is like Carl Froch and George Groves. Carl Froch, some people say Carl Froch lost the first fight, but we saw what he did in the second fight. And I score things on a much more holistic view. And if, for example, Josh Taylor was to go in there in the second fight and stop Jack Catterall, then that'd be 2-2. That'd be 2-0 for me. That'd reaffirm that he really did win the first fight. Equally, if Jack Catterall goes in there and stops Josh Taylor in the second fight, then I'd say he probably did win the first fight. You know what I mean? It's one of them ones. That's how I look at things. Everything's interlinked. Now, I'm sure you stifflers, I'm sure you dons with a stiff pipe up at your backside. Oh, YB, I like to score things. I like to sit there and get a nice stiff pipe and sit on it and score the fight round by round. That's good for you. Everyone's different. Yeah? You man with a stiff pole up your backside. You carry on doing the stiff round by round. I'll do what I want to do. 100%, no doubt. JT, do the rematch at 140. Otherwise, you're scary ass. 100%.